Good evening. Welcome to a special meeting of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land for Tuesday, May the 13th. Tonight's a little bit of a special meeting. We're going to, in a minute, after we do the public comment, we're going to go to canvass the election for the May 3rd election. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and open the public comment. Anybody that wants to speak about an active agenda item is welcome to do so at this time. If you'll come down to the front, Identify yourself, name, address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Anybody? Closed public comment. Move to item number 3, canvass the election. Item number 3, first and final consideration of an action on the City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2375, an ordinance to the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, canvassing the returns and declaring the results of a general election held on May 3rd, 2025, to elect a mayor and 2 at-large council members, canvassing the returns and declaring the results of a special election held on May 3rd, 2025, to fill the unexpired terms for single-member districts 2 and 4, and to vote on an amendment to the city's charter to call for a runoff election to be held on June the 7th, 2025, and providing for other matters relating to the general and special election. This time I'm going to go over briefly the results of the election. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, Section 1, that the elections held on May 3rd, 2025, the following votes were cast for the following candidates. For mayor, Michelle McKeska, 1,933 votes. Sarwar Khan, 250 votes. Nashed Karmali, 3,363 votes. William Ferguson, 5,834 votes. Alex Soul, 226. And Carol McCutcheon, 4,642. At-large position 1, George Kakinak, 2,799 votes. Maggie Horton, 2,990 votes. Akil Vert, 567 votes. Jim Vandahar, 5,364 votes. And Muzaffar Vora, 2,732 votes. At-large position 2, Robert Bocher, 9,616 votes. Amir Malik, 4,812 votes. In District 2, Bradley Tilton, 946 votes. Sanjay Singhal, 1,681 votes. Cindy Picasso, 648 votes. Gladys Nunez, 89, and Nasir Hussain, 974. For District 4, Sapna Patel, 1,184 votes. Zinat Mitha, 968 votes. Rick Miller, 2,235 votes. Please. Section 2. Following persons are declared to have been elected to the following offices. At-large position 2, Robert Bocher. District 4, Rick Miller. In the runoff to be held June 7th, 2025, Mayor William Ferguson and Carol McCutcheon. At-large 1, Maggie Horgan and Jim Vandahar. District 2, Sanjay Singhal and Nasser Hussain. And on the city charter, yes for the charter amendment, 6,272, no, 8,302. Those are the results. I'll make a motion that we accept those as dictated. Can I have a second? We're going to do a hand vote tonight. Comment?
Thank you. It'll be less than a minute. As I reflect on the past 8 years, I simply want to say thank you. It's been a true privilege to serve our city, working along so many passionate residents, colleagues, and city staff who care deeply about making this a better place for everyone. Public service isn't easy, but it's been deeply rewarding. Every conversation on a front porch, every late night phone call or meeting, every small step forward, we've taken them together, and I'm grateful for every moment. No matter what lies ahead, I'm proud of what we've built, and I'm humbled by the opportunity to serve. Thank you for your trust, your support, and for allowing me to be part of something bigger than myself. Thank you.
Got a motion, I've got a second already. A hand vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. At this time, I'm going to invite down, we're going to move now to the item number 4, the oath of office. 4A, administer the oath of office to Robert Bocher, council member to at-large position 2, and Rick Miller, District 4. I'm going to take Robert Bocher first. Robert, if you can join me, please. And do you want your family down? Absolutely. Place your right hand on the Bible, please. I
I, Robert Batcher,
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council at Large 2
City Council at Large 2
of the City of Sugar Land,
of the City of Sugar Land,
County of Fort Bend,
County of Fort Bend,
State of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
and will do the best of my ability preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
and the charter and ordinances of the city.
and the charter and ordinances of this city.
And I furthermore solemnly swear
And I furthermore solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly
that I have not directly or indirectly
paid,
paid,
offered,
offered,
or promised to pay,
or promised to pay,
contributed,
contributed,
or promised to contribute any money
or promised to contribute any money
or valuable thing,
or valuable thing,
or promised any public office
or promised any public office
or employment
or employment
as a reward to secure my appointment
as a reward to secure my appointment
or the confirmation thereof.
or the confirmation thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to Sugar Land City Council.
Appreciate that, Joe.
Jake, you want to get, council members, you want to get, come down, get a picture? Now I'd like to invite Judge Bo Miller, Harris County 190th Judicial District Court Judge, and he's going to swear in his dad as a District 4 council member.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You want to stand there? Okay. Keep it like this. But I want to say first, I'm proud of my dad. For you, those of you who don't know him very well, you'll get to know him. My brother is in the Navy. My niece is in the Navy, and I'm serving obviously as a judge, as a public official, and we get that from Dad. Dad has a life of service to our country and to a state and now to a city, and I can't be more proud to do this, Dad.
Oh, thank you, Bill. I love you.
Yes. Okay. I state your name.
Hang on.
It's hard to do.
There.
I state my name. Rick.
Rick Miller.
Rick Miller. I'll hold it.
Let's start that again.
Right hand on the Bible. Over here. Over here. Get this right here. There we go.
I state your name.
Rick Miller.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of City Council
of City Council
of the City of Sugar Land,
in the City of Sugar Land,
County of Fort Bend,
County Fort Bend,
State of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
and the charter and ordinances of the city.
and the charter and ordinances of the city.
I furthermore
And I furthermore
solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will not directly or indirectly,
that I will not directly or indirectly,
paid, offered, or promised
paid, offered, or promised
to pay,
to pay,
contributed, or promised to contribute
contributed, or promised to contribute
any money or valuable thing,
any money or valuable thing,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employee
as a reward to secure my appointment
as a reward to secure my
or
appointment
the confirmation thereof.
or the confirmation thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, bud.
Picture, Councilman? Item number 5, closed executive session. 5A, closed executive session is authorized by 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with 5510H7, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations for the purpose of deliberation regarding the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect the city seeks to have, locate, stay, or expand in or near the city. At this time, we're going to recess into the council chamber or into the council dining room, and when we're finished, then we'll be back out on the dais. And we're going to move to item number 6, ordinances and resolutions. 6A, consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Resolution number 2528, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, conditionally approving a redevelopment concept plan for approximately 52 acres of land located in the Lake Point Redevelopment District. And we have with us tonight Ms. Ruth Lomer, our redevelopment planning manager. Ruth.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Yes, we are here tonight to talk about the redevelopment concept plan for Lake Point Green. So as a reminder, Lake Point Redevelopment District was created and this property was rezoned to that district in December of 2023. That zoning district does set the standards and processes for development in this area, including the establishment of the requirement for a redevelopment concept plan to be approved by City Council prior to any other development steps taking place on the property. The redevelopment concept plan's purpose is to provide a mechanism to review large, complex, or phased projects in the Lake Point Redevelopment District. It also enables the Commission and Council to evaluate the development's relationship with the surrounding area and ensure negative impacts are minimized, evaluate the location of proposed uses, connectivity, and the location of public spaces. And it also enables the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the housing mix requirement in the Lake Point Redevelopment District.
Ruth, I'm going to hold up. Let's close those doors back there. We're getting a bunch of bleed off.
Sure.
Go ahead, Ruth.
Okay.
Thank you.
The code establishes 4 criteria for approving a redevelopment concept plan, and that includes consistency with the terms and conditions of any prior approvals that are not proposed to change, consistency with the comprehensive plan and any other applicable plans, consistency with the purpose statements and applicable standards in the development code, and that the development should consider the existing roadway network and minimize impacts on the surrounding areas. I did go into a little bit more detail on each of these during the public hearing at your meeting last week. This is the proposed redevelopment concept plan. As you can see, they are showing residential uses, so single-family townhomes, urban homes, and live-work in the yellow, and then a mix of single-family, those same types, as well as some multifamily in the orange. They did add some potential non-residential in the hatched red here in response to comments at the workshop from the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. And then finally, you see the green areas, which are their civic and recreational areas, which is where you have a lot of the existing mature trees on the site that they are preserving and will be amenitizing those areas. So we did have a joint City Council and Planning Zoning Commission workshop on April 22nd. Much of the focus was related to the fact that the development is largely residential. The developer did indicate at the time that there really isn't a market for commercial at this time and really even on this site. But they did add the potential for commercial in the future. There were some additional questions related to parking for events in the civic space, the price point of homes, and consistency with the land use plan. We also had a community meeting on April 23rd, so the following day, where we had nearly 100 residents that were in attendance. Comments during that meeting focused on traffic, housing types and price point, ownership and programming of the civic space, impact to schools, and construction impacts. Then on May 6th, we had a joint public hearing with the Commission and Council, and staff and the developer presented the revised concept. We had 4 members of the public that spoke during the hearing. 1 was in favor of the project, 2 mentioned concerns due to the lack of non-residential, and then 1 expressed concerns about the number of multifamily and the lack of 1-story options for seniors. Comments from Commission and Council focused largely on acknowledging the fact that the developer had responded to the comments from the workshop previously. There was also 1 question about traffic and 1 question about property values that were expected to be generated on the site. The Planning and Zoning Commission did review the redevelopment concept plan last night and took action. There were some questions about detention, traffic analysis, and kind of just overall next steps in the process. They ultimately recommended the redevelopment concept plan approval to the commission or the council in a 6-to-1 vote. So tonight, staff and Planning and Zoning Commission do support approval of the Resolution 2528, which conditionally approves the Lake Point Green redevelopment concept plan, the condition being that the buyer closes on the property by the end of July. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions of Ruth? Suzanne?
Thank you. Ruth, I watched the P&Z meeting last night, and there were 2 points that I thought were really important to make, again, because they were great questions. Number one, the TIA studies, traffic impact analysis, and all those studies. Can you share what we're going to do with those results and how we get those before council comes back?
So this project, this submittal, will not be coming back to City Council. It will go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for plating. And essentially, as you're probably aware, plating is a ministerial action. So as long as the proposed development meets the requirements in the code, then the Planning and Zoning Commission must approve it. The traffic analysis that will be conducted, we would expect to happen early in the stages of plating. It's also important to remember that a traffic impact analysis really doesn't tell us whether a development should or shouldn't be approved. It tells us what kind of improvements are needed to the roadways in the area to make sure that the roads can accommodate the new development. And so we would expect that there might be some turn lanes needed, or potentially widening up an area in a particular space. But that would be handled through the staff process, where the traffic engineers would look at that traffic analysis provided by the outside consulting firm, and would make recommendations and ensure that those improvements are made at the appropriate time.
Follow-up.
Thank you, Ruth. That helps them understand how that works. And the other question was, moving forward, the process, and you kind of alluded to this, but can you tell us the process after we vote tonight, what happens next, so all of our constituents understand how it goes forward?
Sure. So as I mentioned, the next step would be platting or subdividing the property. So that's where the developer will lay out the subdivision. They will be taking, they likely will not be taking the entire acreage at one time. So they'll pick a piece of property that they will bring in for a preliminary plat, which will lay out all of the lots and the streets and the easements. And then they'll do a final plat. And it's at that point that the lots could then begin to be sold, and you could start seeing houses going vertical on the property.
Perfect. Thank you, Ruth. I make a motion to approve.
Got a motion by Watley. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by Jacobson. Any other questions? Hand vote at this time, please. All in favor? Aye. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. Item number 7, contracts and agreements. 7A, consideration of an action on incentive agreement with McCall Street Partners LP and authorization of a budget amendment in the amount of $2,650,000 to expenditures to the general fund. And we have with us Devin Rodriguez, our Director of Redevelopment. Devin, I think you're online. You're behind us. You're in front of me.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sorry I could not be with you tonight in person, but I'm going to walk through this item virtually with you and answer any questions related to the agreement. So just a quick overview. Redevelopment has been the city's top priority, specifically Imperial and Lake Point. And so we have been focused on those two areas. And tonight we're here to talk about Lake Point specifically. So Fluor had their campus there since the 80s. And over the years, for various reasons, built it, sold it, bought it again, leased it back, all sorts of different things, but they remained in that campus since the 80s. They left that campus in July 2024, and when they did that, they left over 1 million square feet of vacant office and 30 acres of surface parking. The land, again, was not owned by Fluor at the time. They were leasing it, and so in January of this year, the property owners placed the land for sale. Lovett is the owner's preferred buyer and developer, and so they are proposing the development of what Ruth just ran through of different residential options and the civic and green space areas. You can go to the next slide, please. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is the incentive agreement, development agreement that we have negotiated with Lovett, or under their name for this agreement, the McCall Partners. So one thing I just kind of want to touch on, I know we've talked a lot about economic development incentives over the years, and now we're entering this new phase of redevelopment. And this is still something that requires, in certain circumstances, public or economic development funding in order to make a project happen. But it is a little bit different because redevelopment is a little bit different. The initial costs for redevelopment projects are higher than greenfield there are existing conditions that must be removed or rebuilt or remediated or relocated. And the costs and complexity of doing that can sometimes deter private development. Then, so, public funds can come in to bridge the gap and leverage that private investment to really make a project pencil and then make that project viable and provide a public benefit to the community as well. So we have a history of utilizing a variety of financing tools. Sugar Land 4B is one of them and is part of this incentive package that we are going to be covering tonight as one example. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to run through the main highlights of the agreement terms. There are 3 buckets for the incentive. The first portion of it is the demolition reimbursement. So there is 1 million square feet of vacant, obsolete office buildings and surface parking that is located on this beautiful piece of property that is surrounded by Brooks Lake. So this includes the reimbursement for the cost of demolishing those existing improvements up to $5.3 million. The limitation that the agreement does have is that there can be up to 4 payment requests with they have to provide sufficient evidence of the expenses, but there can be up to 4 payment requests, but the max payment request or submittal is $2.65 million prior to October 1st, 2025. And then the city retains the right to withhold construction permits for the vertical development until all the existing improvement demolition is complete. Next slide, please. The second bucket is the civic space and parkland. So this is a significant component to Lovett's concept plan. The acreage was identified to preserve as many healthy and mature trees as possible, which has been a priority that was expressed by the community over the last 1.5 years when we were in preparation for, setting this site up for redevelopment potential. So the incentive is $7 million from the Sugar Land 4B Corporation. The Sugar Land 4B has already completed and approved a funding resolution authorizing these funds to the city for this purpose. And with the $7 million, it is the commitment of the buyer or Lovett to reserve approximately 8 acres of the civic space, parkland, and expansion of the Brooks Lakes Trail as it's shown in the concept plan. But this will provide a space for general recreation and possible event-based programming in this open space area. Next slide, please. So here's just a few visuals. I know you all have seen it already, but I just kind of wanted to recap when we're talking about, what is the funding for this civic space and parkland. Lovett has talked about really 2 main components of this, which is called the bridge and the lawn. And these are significant areas where these mature trees are located, but also ability to create this impactful area for open green space and civic space for this development. Next slide, please. And then again, another component of this project, in addition to the open natural civic space, is also the trails, being able to expand upon the existing Brooks Lakes trails. That's 1.8 miles, and their proposal is to expand it, double that trail space throughout the development. So in continuing to enhance those recreational opportunities. Next slide, please. The lawn, here's just a visual, right, of this open green space and the ability for recreation, actually go to the next slide, please. For other programming ideas, whether it be a farmer's market, play areas, maybe it's an outdoor wedding or other types of events and kids play activities. Next slide, please. And finally, this is the bridge. So this is that main area as you're entering Flora Daniel Drive off of Highway 6. This would be the main entrance into the development with having these mature trees. Next slide, please. So a little bit continuing on the other terms that we have in the agreement related to the civic space in Parkland. For ownership and maintenance, the land must be dedicated to a mutually agreeable entity, and that dedication by a specific date. The dedication will require the land to be open to the public without restriction until 2046. The parties in the agreement also agreed to work to develop a mutually agreeable structure and possible annual funding for different event program pop-up event ideas that we shared on the previous slides. And then finally, there is a clawback in the agreement. So if the buyer fails to dedicate 8 acres by December 31st, 2032, the city may reduce, per a calculation outlined in the agreement, their public infrastructure reimbursement or terminate it. Next slide, please. All right, now this is the final and third bucket, which is public infrastructure reimbursement. This is a reimbursement for public infrastructure as defined in one of the exhibits of the agreement. It is $10 million, but it is a maximum up to $12 million, $2 million being interest. The eligible funding source for this is general fund. It's based off of an ad valorem tax grant. So there is going to be a base year that is set, and then basically the new assessed value and revenue that is created as a result of them doing this development will be able to be reinvested back into it in reimbursing them for the public infrastructure that they made happen for this development that would not have happened otherwise. So it is the 75% of the city's ad valorem taxes for that calendar year. There is a base year that is incorporating this. So it's operating similar to a TERS, but not being a TERS. It will continue until the earlier of December 31st, 2046, or until the total of $10 million is received. And then there is an interest component where the city would pay the buyer the annual interest on the reimbursement prime rate +1, not to exceed $2 million. This structure is standard compared to other municipal utility MUD districts that are done throughout the city and throughout Texas, where there is an interest portion that is paid. The developer will be, taking on debt in order to make these improvements, just like the city. If we were doing public infrastructure, we would do a bond or debt, and we would need to pay that interest. So it is accommodating for that interest that would need to be paid, but capping it at that $2 million and still tying it to the actual assessed value revenue that is generated as a result of the new improvements and the value that is added to the land per their development. Next slide, please. And so with that, we do have 2 recommendations tonight. First is the approval of the Lake Point Redevelopment and Economic Development Incentive Agreement between the City of Sugar Land and McCall Street Partners LP. That is the entity set up for Levitt for this specific project. And then second is an amendment to the general fund for expenditures in the amount of $2.65 million for the reimbursement of this fiscal year's portion of the demolition costs as outlined in the agreement. And with that, I believe I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. Next slide, just to make sure I'm not missing anything.
So Devin, really what we have here is what we had agreed early on, which is $5.3 million for demolition costs, a reimbursement of that. And we've got a different structure to it now, but that's basically fulfilling the commitment that we've had all along. We knew that we'd have to do that. We've also got $7 million, really, which is a fee purchase of parkland that would then be owned by either the City of Sugar Land or our designee. And then what we also have, similar to a MUD, and in both these transactions, all 3 incentives are similar to a MUD, in that, and we have $10 million for infrastructure to be reimbursed based on, what's actually spent, which is for water, sanitary, drainage, those types of infrastructure with a cap on interest of $2 million, which is typical of a MUD, which is a cap on interest also. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? We got a motion, we got a second by Watley. Yeah, hand vote, if you'll vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Devin.
Thank you.
And at this time, if there's no business to come before the council, we'll go ahead. We are adjourned at 6:15. Thank you.